now talk about the bass guitar, which is going through some very interesting processing. When we were working on this track, we rented a studio that had a horrible bass in it, and I've actually needed to auto-tune it in the mixing stage because it would just not stay in tune for long. And after the auto-tune, I've inserted 2 bass amp emulations. Let's see what each does. This is only the first. And here's with the second. So it gave it more attitude and kind of focused the mid-range attack of the pick where I wanted it. And then what I've done is to route this bass channel into these auxiliary sends. In the first one, you might have noticed I'm calling it bass low. I'm filtering all the high frequencies up until 150 hertz. The reason I'm doing this is because I want my bass frequencies centered and in control and clean and focused, and I knew I wanted to distort the high frequencies and have them on the sides. After this filter, I've put a multiband compressor which reacts to certain notes more than others and keeps my bass in check. Let's listen to this. You might have noticed that without it, the bass frequencies were just too dynamic, and as I mentioned, I wanted them very focused. And lastly, I've just attenuated this frequency, which apparently bugged me. Then I have 2 high channels. The first is for the choruses and the other for the verses. The reason is that I've created a bass sound in the beginning of the song that worked beautifully, and then in the verses, it just overpowered and grabbed too much attention, and it made it hard to listen to the singer. So let's start off with the one in the choruses. The first thing I've done is to filter the low frequencies and to filter this range, which is the pick. Apparently I did not like it too much, but you can see it's a dynamic EQ and it reacts to the source whenever something just goes overboard. So the reason this filter is not at 150 hertz is apparently the next plugin, which is an emulation of the rat distortion. I'm assuming that what happened is that I played around with the filter to shape what the distortion is actually reacting to. That resulted with this sound. Then I've inserted SOOTHE, which is a great plugin that helps manage resonances that are unpleasant but not static. Without it, it's just out of control, it's a bit too wild. And after SOOTHE, I've inserted another EQ. This time the filter is placed around the same frequency in which I've filtered the high frequencies in the low channel and continued shaping the bass sound. So again, you might be thinking to yourself, why is he ruining the source? The reason is that I have the low channel, which contains all the low frequencies that I want, and I don't need more low frequencies in the channel. I wanted only high frequencies in. The last thing I'm doing is to make this mono source stereo using MICROSHIFT. And with the bass channel, this division of the bass guitar is a really cool trick, and let's go over what I'm doing at the verses. just a bit more mild. In this channel, the only variation is that there is slightly more distortion than the first one, but there's a lot more filtering going on, so less high frequencies that are harsh and are taking the space from the lead singer. Then the EQ, another EQ, which is filtering more of the low frequencies, and microshift. The last thing to note about the bass guitar is that it's sent to the BX20 spring reverb, which is automated, and it only appears in the end of the song. So when the song ends, it ends with the bass guitar decaying out. Notice what happens in this fader. Spring reverb immediately creates this vintage kind of feel, and it suited this production beautifully.